material in the book more accessible to people. I mean, we get the fact that people are busy, people are working hard, and when they get home from work, they don't necessarily want to dive into a, several hundred-page book that's got multiple footnotes. So what the film does is take some of the material in the film, there's some new stuff as well, and it encapsulates it and presents it in a very visual and powerful way. And what's interesting about this, Alex, is the earliest reviews of this film were not by conservatives, people that dislike Hillary Clinton. It was by MSNBC. It was by Salon. It was by The Guardian in the UK, which is a left-wing paper. They all gave the film favorable reviews because they feel the information is compelling and powerful, and you can not deny the fact that the Clintons are cooperating and working with elites that are backing warlords in Africa or engaged in some very nefarious behavior.
Well, that's the thing about Hillary.
And other places around the world.
From a leftist perspective, she's what you'd call a super right-wing warmonger, profiteer, gangster, like Trump says. I mean, there's nothing liberal about this woman except her rhetoric.
Yeah, the word that I often hear from Bernie Sanders supporters that I would agree with is that she is a corporatist. That, in other words, she melds her interest in American national interest with the interests of favored corporations, and that would be corporations that put money in their pockets. So she's going to carry out a policy in Africa, for example, that's not necessarily based on our national security interests or on the interests of human rights, but what's best for mining corporations that have put a lot of money in the Clinton pockets. And that's something that I think a lot of conservatives and independents would have problems with. And it's certainly something that Bernie Sanders supporters would have a problem with.
Now, there's Breitbart.com. People can go see the trailer there. We're going to play the trailer when we come back at the start of the next segment, right out of the break, viewers and listeners. So stay tuned for that. But Peter Schweizer, who heads up Breitbart.com, one of the biggest independent news organizations in the world. Let me ask you this when we go to break in 60 seconds. I mean, I wouldn't call you an establishment guy, but I mean, I'm going to go over your bio here, but you're a prestigious guy. Worked with some of the, top, TV production, you name it, some of the top publications. People listen to you. Would you say that other people in the more intellectual level of discourse are now starting to wake up to what's happening? Because, you supporting Trump and things like that's pretty hardcore in the traditional paradigm.
Well, I would say that, yes, there's a lot of disruption among establishment circles that are surprised at what's happening. Certainly, the predictions a lot of people have made have been proven to be wrong. But I would say even at Breitbart, look, we have a very vigorous debate. I'm a senior editor there, the executive chairman, Steve Bannon, Alex Marlow, the editor-in-chief. We have vigorous debates on these issues. What I find so interesting is a lot of the focus is on the personality of Donald Trump.
Stay there, Peter Schweizer. We're going to be right back to talk about this straight ahead in the trailer. Out of the break. Stay with us. Alex Jones back live. ClintonCashMovie.com is the website. Here is the trailer for the film that opens in Cannes this weekend.
Greetings from Washington. I want to thank all of you for your work to root out corruption that weakens economic development, feeds black markets and organized crime, and undermines the promise of democracy.
I believe in the oldest adage in American politics, which is follow the money.
A new report today claims that the Clinton Foundation gives about 10% of its money that it raises to actual charities.
Enormous amounts of money have flowed to the Clintons from foreign governments, foreign financiers, and businesses.
The Clinton Foundation dropping its self-imposed ban on collecting funds from foreign governments and entities.
You have a foreign corporation or a foreign government that wants something from the State Department while Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State. They will make a large payment to the Clinton Foundation. That will be followed by favorable action on their behalf. They've created a model for massive self-enrichment that allows you to go into so-called public service, but get extremely rich at the same time.
Oh, yeah. I got to pay our bills.
Before we had to worry about money from Wall Street and big labor, now we have to worry about it coming from around the world and infecting our politics. With the Clintons, nothing is sacred. Everything is for sale. But we are the ones who are paying the price. Maybe, just maybe, the American people are tired of being sold out.
I can't wait to see it. A really smart film, because I've read the book, I guess 6 months ago, about 4 or 5 months, 6 months after it came out. Congratulations on what you put together here. You were finishing up on the whole Trump situation and how really what he's saying is mainline Americana, but people get caught up in the personality. Peter?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at some of the positions he's taken, whether it's on, free trade or the erosion of the middle class, these are hardly, radical right-wing views. These are centrist views that are shared by some mainstream Democrats. And I think that part of the challenge is because of Trump's personality, sometimes those issues get lost in the shuffle. So I think it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very difficult for Hillary Clinton, I think, to paint Trump as this sort of right-wing conservative, because certainly that is not how you would classify Trump, I think, on the philosophical spectrum.
And to be specific, I know Cannes was going on the last week or so. I guess it's already premiered. Where will we be able to see Clinton Cash next?
So it's in the middle of negotiations for distribution deal. There's going to be a theatrical release sometime in July, and then we will be on a television network. I can't say which one, but expect to see it on national television sometime this summer.
Well, it needs to go viral, and folks, this is a war. I don't have a stake in this film except my children's future. That's why all these big films, I have them on to promote them, because if it gets in 20 theaters and sells out for a week, then it gets in 100, then it's 2,000, and then we change the world. And look, it's not just the Clintons, it's across the board. These leaders are taking foreign money, and the left says, get rid of Americans' right to give. Well, first, let's get rid of foreign groups coming in and dictatorships. And you're absolutely right. The left has no wiggle room here. I mean, if they're for shutting down giving domestically, they got to shut down foreign money. I mean, that's treason.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, that's one of the few consensus points we have left in American politics, right? The Supreme Court in 2012 heard a case where two Canadians challenged the constitutionality of the law that says foreigners cannot give to political campaigns. The Supreme Court came back 9-0 and said, no, this law is completely constitutional and makes great sense. When was the last time the Supreme Court agreed 9-0 on anything? So this is a consensus point in American politics, but the Clintons have found a way around it. So if you're a foreign dictator, you cannot give to Hillary's presidential campaign, but you can pay Bill an inflated speaking fee and put that money in his pocket.
I mean, it's even worse than giving to the campaign.
Check to the Clinton Foundation.
Well, I mean, in closing, Trump has come out and said that she's going to jail now, and obviously she does all these crimes. They're legion. But, I mean, it's naked. If somebody at the FBI takes $5,000 from a foreigner and doesn't even do anything for the money, they get indicted in life in prison, and they should. That's espionage. I mean, they're openly involved in espionage at every level. I mean, well, how is she not arrested?
Well, you look, Alex, at the recent cases of political prosecution, Governor McDonnell in Virginia, Senator Menendez in New Jersey, they were charged with far less evidence than exists.
The Attorney General of Texas.
Yeah, Attorney General of Texas. There's a former governor of Alabama who's in jail right now. They were charged on this precise thing of taking money and doing favors in return. And the evidence, and I've looked at it, is far less compelling in any of those cases.
The Attorney General here is going after Obama. He's at a party, talks about a company he was at a year before, says he thinks it's a good investment. They've indicted him. It's just crazy. Dinesh D'Souza's in jail for 9 months. Hillary's not in trouble. Peter Schweizer, Breitbart.com. Clinton Cash, the movie, folks. Very exciting. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Alex.
Wow, we're on the march. The empire is on the run, and the next big salvo's coming up. Roger Stone in studio straight ahead. And we have a special guest in studio. I mean, I knew who this guy was years ago. Ran into him at some JFK events. But I tell you, in the last year, getting to know Roger Stone, it's been amazing. He's a consummate Trump insider. He's a best-selling author. He's worked in 9 administrations or on 9 campaigns. I guess in like 4 administrations, correct me if I'm wrong, and of course famously good buddies with Richard Nixon. And I tell you, you look at Richard Nixon, where are the good old days? That guy's so-called corruption was like child's play, and I'm not defending it, obviously. You've written a book that's somewhat critical of him, but also positive. He was a real guy. What is the difference, Roger Stone, between a Richard Nixon and, say, a Hillary or Bill Clinton or an Obama? Because you've got a bunch of breaking news, a bunch of inside stuff. We've got a ton of anti-Trump rioters beating up women, hitting them over the head with Mexican flags, and the mayor defending it is wonderful. I mean, these people seem like the real brown shirt fascists to me. I want to cover that today with you and all the points you want to get to. But first off, let's quantify your 40-something years in politics and your business partner, you know, being one of the top folks right now, heading up the Trump campaign a year ago or so. You were the head of the Trump campaign. Now you're out there on your own to defend the republic. But so much. Where are we as a culture, as a society, and how would you parallel it between a Richard Milhous Nixon and a Hillary Rodham Clinton? What type of individuals are these? I mean, was Nixon a sociopath or a psychopath? We know Hillary is.
Well, put it this way. Hillary and Bill Clinton make Richard Nixon look like St. Thomas Aquinas. I mean, the unconstitutional abuses of power by both the Clintons and the Obamas pale in comparison to anything Richard Nixon did. Let's take a simple example. One of the counts of impeachment against Richard Nixon was that he misused the IRS. Really? Kathleen Willey, Juanita Broaddrick, Paula Jones, they all got IRS audits. All the women sexually assaulted by Bill Clinton got IRS audits, but there was never an article of impeachment on the Clintons. The extra constitutional ravings and orders of Barack Obama pale in comparison in anything Richard Nixon did. It shows that there's a double standard between conservative Republicans and liberal Democrats. Republicans are held to a higher standard.
And it seems to be getting worse. I know you flew in last night, but you've seen some of the news today. We covered it last hour. You have left-wing editors of newspapers. You have the mayor out there in the town where this just happened, where Breitbart and of course, our own reporters are there having events, and they're coming in and beating up women now on TV, waving Mexican flags in San Jose, and the media is saying this is a good thing. This is unprecedented.
Yeah, I actually think, and Pat Buchanan wrote this last week very eloquently, all these demonstrations, all this violence is only going to redound to the benefit of Donald Trump. The lines are drawn in America between the producers and the takers. And the more they foment violence, and let's be very clear, this violence is agitprop. It's paid for. It's orchestrated. It's a faux demonstration. These are hardline professional agitators financed by George Soros, MoveOn.org, Black Lives Matter, David Brock and the freaks at Media Matters for America, then go out and interpret it, blaming all of the violence on Trump. Hardworking, blue-collar Americans see this violence and they repair to the Trump banner. In my view, the entire thing will backfire.
I agree, and it's on record. In Europe, the tactics, bully and attack, and then shut down conservatives or patriot speech, nationalist speech. It's the same mode here. It's the same leftist blueprint with big corporations that want monopolies funding it. But it is backfiring all over the world. So then I ask, what is George Soros and Hillary Clinton, what are they thinking?
I think it's just it's a miscalculation. Here's what they're trying to do. There is a morbid fear on the left that many of the Bernie Sanders voters are going to wise up to the fact that the internationalist, globalist trade deals like NAFTA have destroyed the job market in the United States, and that the neocon policies of both the Clintons and the Bushes have driven us all off to endless and pointless war. They're deathly afraid that 1/3, not the hard left, but 1/3 of the Sanders voters will become available to Trump. And therefore, these riots, these attacks, he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's a maniac, he's mentally unbalanced, that is meant to disqualify Trump among those voters. They are desperate to disqualify them because they're outsiders. These folks are natural Trump voters. We have common economic interests with them, and that is what they fear.
He's in a dead heat or a few points ahead in most polls. You're the expert on that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where is the state of the battle? What's the path to victory? A, but B, clearly, I don't need to be a political scientist to know that most people out there, feel intimidated because they don't want to be called racist. but secretly they're planning to vote for Trump because they're nationalists, they're patriots. And I'm talking about black voters, Hispanics, and others, because I'm suddenly seeing double, triple the numbers of Hispanics and African-American folks at the Trump rallies, because we have the live feeds. Our crew is at almost all of these. Infowars.com is covering it, and I'm not seeing that on the news now. They're not doing close-up shots of the lines anymore because it's freaking the media out. And now suddenly, in multiple speeches, when Obama talks about Trump, he turns into a blithering idiot. And